Welcome to Riding the Trauma Train, or welcome back if we've shared this space before. I'm Lydia, your host and fellow passenger in this journey of self-healing, inner strength and personal growth. This podcast is a safe, judgment-free space dedicated to the realities of living with and healing from trauma. Through personal stories and in-depth conversations with special guests, including therapists, healers, practitioners, and fellow survivors, we look at what healing can truly look like in everyday life. We explore realistic healing journeys and share simple, sustainable practices and actionable tools to support your well-being along the way. So grab your ticket, take a seat, and remember, you are not on this journey alone. Hello, welcome back to Riding the Trauma Train. Today I have the wonderful Melissa Blynn, CEO of EpicLuv and a trauma-informed coach who works with somatic healing, the nervous system, and works with women to empower their bodies. And we've had a few conversations over the last few months, and I'm so excited to get you on today. Grab your ticket, take a seat, and remember, you are not on this journey alone. Melissa, thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Riding the Trauma Train.
Thanks so much for having me. I knew the moment we met and I heard your story, I was like, I want nothing more to have an honest, raw conversation with you. And I'm super, super just honored to be here. Yeah, really am. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I think I love energy, and I think literally the first moment, I think it wasn't even voice or anything, was it? It was a text, and we were like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, let's get together.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we very, very similar kind of backgrounds, definitely very similar paths in the one that we're taking to kind of help heal the world, as it were.
Yeah.
So for those of my listeners who don't know who you are, please tell me a bit about Melissa Blynn and EpicLuv.
Well, I've been in the mental health space for almost 20 years now. You know, I like to say that I turned my pain into purpose. So, family of origin, how I got into mental health and got into this arena. I was born into a family of origin of two parents who were addicts. So, by the time I was 7 years old, I had experienced um, what I like to call is complex trauma. Definition by complex trauma is multiple experiences, not just one experiences, but multiple experiences that we call adverse childhood experiences. We call them ACE. And so by the time I was 7, I had experienced sexual abuse. I had experienced verbal and emotional abuse. I had experienced what's called parentification, emotional parentification. We could talk a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was put in a foster home at 7 as well too, due to obviously, the toxic environment that I was in. And so by the time I was 18 years old, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer. And when I was 21 years old, I was in a major car accident and I was hit at 100 miles an hour. So,
Wow.
literally, all before I was 21 years old, my nervous system and my cognitive belief system had adopted the identity that pain was normal. So, I had experienced a lot of physical and emotional pain my whole life, right? And so,
Yeah.
you know, after I got in my car accident, I was put on short-term disability for 6 months at the time, and I was going to physical therapy, and honestly, nothing was working. And, they were trying to give me prescription pain medication, and I was very adverse to taking them because that was what my mother was addicted to. And something, inspired me to go down a rabbit hole, and I was introduced to a woman who did Reiki healing and yoga, and I was like, "I'm open." And I remember going to meet her, and she worked on me for about 4 sessions, and it changed my life. Um, I was blown away with the power of energy healing, and I started practicing yoga at 21, and by the time I was 23 years old, I quit corporate America, and I became a personal trainer. So from the time I was 23, I'm 44 now, I really have just immersed myself into web of mental healing, emotional healing, and physical healing. So started off as a trainer, By the time 2010 came around, I got my master's in nutrition at ASU. 2016 came around, I became an NLP practitioner. For those of you that don't know what that is, it means neuro-linguistic programming, because I was like, okay, what's going on in my mind, my belief
Hmm.
system? And then fast forward in the last 6, 7 years, I dived into somatic therapy and psychedelic assisted therapy for working with the actual body and the nervous system repair. So I really have dedicated 20 years of my life to unlearning and uncoupling the belief system of pain, and healing my nervous system. And now this is truly my life's work. I rollingly, jokingly say that when I created EpicLuv, the joke is like EpicLuv was this person outside of me. I was like always seeking the perfect relationship. But the reason why I called my business EpicLuv is it stands for empowering people and inspiring change for women to love themselves.
I just got goosebumps.
So that's how she was born.
I love that. I don't love, obviously, like just even going through one kind of experience of trauma is
Yeah.
bad enough, but then to kind of catalog it with the amount of different things that you've gone through, and but to be able to flip it on its lid is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I'm interested to see how you went, like what was happening in the Reiki to then make you think, do you know what, this is going to be my path.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I went to, her name was Sonia. And I remember going to her house. I was actually dating her son at the time. And he's like, come meet my mom. She's like a witch. She's got crystals and just come check her out. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I'm open because I was never exposed to any of that. Like, it wasn't in my family. I didn't know anyone. Like, it was very untraditional for me. So I remember going to her house and I walk in and it's like, there was something that just felt very warm, it felt very safe, it felt very inviting, and I saw all these crystals, and she took me in this healing room, and I remember her sitting me up on a massage table, and she was like, "Okay, I'm not going to touch your physical body. I'm just gonna move my hand up and down your spine." So when I was in my car accident, because I was hit behind at 100 miles an hour, I fractured my tailbone on impact and I went numb from the waist down. So I was bedbound for almost 6 months. I couldn't sit in a chair at all. So for like very long periods of time, very small periods of time. So I remember she took her hand and started like the top of my spine and she worked all the way down my spine. And as soon as she got to my lumbar, felt this extreme burning and electricity that went up my spine. And I just started crying uncontrollably. And I was like, and it freaked me out because she wasn't even touching me.
Yeah.
And then I went like 2 or 3 sessions after that, and then she became my mentor. She became a woman that I really looked up to. I was curious, I was hungry, I wanted to learn a different way, and so, you know, at that time, I had been already married and divorced, had a volatile marriage, I was in a physically abusive marriage, and I had already had 2 abortions. So, like, I was hungry already going into it. So I think the first thing is that, 1, I was willing, I
Hmm.
was curious, and I was open,
Open.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I was open, and I was like, "Okay, I'm all in, like, here I go," and so I remember started to practicing yoga, and, you know, there was a shift in me as I started to change my internal landscape. I knew what I was doing in the world was no longer what I was in banking.
Hmm.
And I worked at a bank for like 7 years, and I was like, "This is not what I'm meant to do." And a friend of mine was a personal trainer, and he was like, "Come work at 24-hour fitness." And I was like, "I don't know shit about personal training. I've never stuck a foot in the gym." And I said, "Okay, great." So I enrolled in a personal trainer certification, and I quit cold turkey. Quit. And I went right into becoming a personal trainer. And so she was my catalyst. She's passed away
Hmm.
now, but she was, the phrase is, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
And I was
Very,
ready,
very true.
and I was ready. And there she was. And she was an angel for me, and she changed the trajectory of my life. Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
well,
I get emotional talking about it because she really played a very huge role in my life. Very huge role. Yeah.
she sounds phenomenal.
Yeah.
I also think the personal training thing, like, although it was completely so far out from what you were doing, it's connection, isn't it? It's connection with that
Yeah.
person in front of you. It's about making them feel better. Now, I know a lot of this stuff is to do with people come to the gym because it's how they look. But ironically, I've just come back from doing my mental health exercise coaching course. And that is all about your mental health. So
Yeah.
I think when you're a person that connects with people and you're a person that likes to help and to heal, like, I just couldn't imagine you in a bank, like, no, knowing what I know about you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I
Yeah.
find that, yeah, really funny, but, we all do
Yeah.
different things. Um,
Totally.
so you've gone from being a PT and then you've gone into yoga. How have you kind of developed onto the nervous system? Because that's obviously it's not a new term, but it's getting more and more popular. People are more aware of it now, whereas they've not really been aware of it for some time.
Yeah, so for me, how the unfolding of the onion really kind of transpired is right, like, so kind of like you mentioned, I started off with the body, and it was really a lot of it was externally focused, right? Like if I look a certain way, this is what society says. I even did figure competitions in my 20s. And then a few years into my training, I was like, okay, there's something else. And
Mhm,
I was like, people are coming to the gym, but they're still have compulsive eating issues, or their relationship to food was very, off. I was raised on fast food and poor food. And I mean, obviously I had cancer at 18 years old. So I made a lot of, I was uneducated about food.
mhm.
And so I was like, okay, I scratched my head and I was like, I'm going to go back to school. And I went to ASU to get my master's in nutrition. And I was still personal training. And then when I got my master's in nutrition, I started working with integrated doctors. I worked with cancer patients, I worked with naturopathic physicians. And so I was like this bridge of like, you have this diagnosis. You're going to work with your physician. I'm going to be the nutritionist that's going to work with you to create a program. So I did that for a long time. And then in 2016, like I was struggling with like belief systems and just stuff was coming up in my life. And, that's when I went back and became a master practitioner in NLP. But what was the catalyst that got me into nervous system work was in 2019, I lost my father. My father had passed away. I also lost my best friend. She was 48. She was killed in a fatal motorcycle accident, and she was a roommate at the time living with me. And when she died, I had what was called shock trauma. Now, for definition, for those of you who are watching that don't understand what shock trauma is where something outside of you happens too quick, too fast for your brain and body to comprehend. So she was killed in a fatal motorcycle accident and she was living with me at the time. And I got a phone call at 7 o'clock at night that she was killed that day. And I remember that whole evening, my body was shaking. My legs were shaking, my hands were shaking. And so I was in a trauma response. You understand this. And my nervous system was having a physiological response, but I wasn't crying. It was as if my nervous system was also in a state of freeze, like lock.
Yeah,
So my body was trying to get the
something
tension
out,
out,
yeah.
something out, but I could not cognitively make sense of it and process it. So I went into some own deeper work after she had passed away. I had EMDR therapy. And then shortly after she passed away, I had my first breathwork experience in 2020. And it rocked me in an unbelievable way. And I was like, what the hell just happened? And it was the first time that I had really ever been exposed to nervous system work. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to go deeper with this. And that's really what started the journey of nervous system repair for me to go into, okay, I can NLP all day long. I know how to have breakthroughs. I train people through breakthroughs. But what was missing with NLP was getting the body involved in the process.
Mhm.
It's getting the body involved in the process, introducing the body, taking the body through processes to close patternings or loops that remained open in a traumatic experience to get it out of the body. And so that's really what started my journey into somatics was in 2020. Again, just more of my own personal experience and journey. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I think that's healthy, right? Like you're in this work, you're diving into
Yeah.
this work, like you're curious now and you have this hunger, right? And this appetite. And we're
Yeah.
learning so much now that the body has the most innate intelligence. It knows. Um, and I'm a big believer of, especially for women, of like, this is our medicine. This is not our medicine in the feminine. This is our medicine. And when we can get back in reunion with the felt sense in safe ways, this is really where our healing is. And again, going back to my life, like from the time I was born, everything from this part of my body was highly disassociated because I
Yeah.
was complex trauma. So I felt nothing, nothing, nothing. So bringing that back online through the last 6.5, 7 years has changed my life. It's changed my decisions with everything around me. And I do believe that this is the future for women. I really, truly do. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. I also find it quite interesting when you were saying that, and like you were, for those that are listening, Melissa was kind of holding her neck so the everything below her chin down. But all I was thinking it was the term "get out of your own head," and that's where that is. You're up in your head, aren't you? So
Yes.
you're not able to feel what's going on with the rest of you. And I
Mm-mm.
think, especially for people that have been through sexual trauma, that's even more prevalent because
Huge.
your body has disassociated for however many years that is. So
Huge.
I find it really fascinating. And it
Huge.
is also it is amazing that it is when you go down that healing journey that one door opens and then you see the other door at the end of the corridor. You're like, I am heading for that one. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. And
So
it's true. And I love that you brought up sexual trauma. I think it's crucial to bring into our conversations. Obviously, I was sexually abused by my uncle. There wasn't penetration. It was more of like oral, but like I was pinned down. I was held against my will. There was a lot of like just nasty, like mean things said to me. And so when I got into somatic work in 2020 and I started exposing myself in breath work in different experiences, I was actually introduced to a sex somatic therapist. Now, I'm not a sex somatic therapist. I want to full disclose. And I was introduced to her in a mastermind that I was in, and I hired her to do a session with her, and it was about 4 hours long. I was completely but this was in 2021. I believe this was in 2021. I was completely butt naked, and for 4 hours, she was in my body having conversations with my abuser, and at one point, she had me stand up and run away from my abuser to close that flight response to get me out of that because I was pinned against my own will. That freeze
mhm,
response that I went into. So she was warming my body up first before she took me through the flee response. So towards the end, she had me up running to run away. And I
wow.
remember running, I'm butt naked and I'm crying and I'm crying and I'm crying. And at the end of the 4-hour sessions, like she had gloves on, but her hands were literally inside of my yoni, AKA vagina. And she was massaging my vagina to bring felt sense back on. Now, I want to be clear, like, I don't recommend someone who's never done Like I had already done a lot of pre-somatic work prior to that. And that was, I'm grateful that I did because I was extremely intense. So when we talk about sexual trauma, when we are held against our own will, when we are in an experience multiple times, we're highly disassociated below our waist because that's what happens. It's a survival strategy. And so
Absolutely.
slowly bringing felt sense back down there in safe, slow ways is so crucial for women. So crucial.
That's amazing and also wild all at the same time, that it's just one, I didn't, I know we've had this discussion before, but I didn't know about sexual somatic therapists. Have had one of my friends who has spoken to me about yoni therapy, which
Yeah.
is it's clearly the same kind of thing. Um, Also, can you, for the listeners that you've said it a few times, I've felt sense. Can you
Yeah.
explain to them what it is you mean by that?
Felt sense is that I'm attuned. Attuned in somatic means I'm connected, right? Attuned means
Hmm.
I'm connected. I'm connected to my body. I'm connected to my senses, meaning like, ooh, like I have a stomach ache, or like, ooh, I have goosebumps. Ooh, like I feel this breeze on my neck, right? Like, ooh, like there's this discomfort that I keep getting in my hip, right? It's sensations. I feel cold. I feel warm. Ooh, when I'm touched a certain way, this feels pleasurable. Or if I'm touched this way, I notice my body contracts, or I want to close off, right?
Coil, yeah.
Right. I want to coil, right? So like felt sense is where we bring sensation back to the body when there has been traumatic experiences that have left the body disassociated and or in a state of freeze response, right? And so it's really, because again, what's crucial is, I tell people, you hear this all the time, as women say like, well, how do I know it's like my intuition and not my fear? Right? Like my fear is in my mind. And how do I know it's my intuition? Like that gut sensation, that gut feeling, right? Well, part of it, in order for us to get back in touch with our intuition, is like being able to go in the body and understand those subtle, quiet nudges, the goosebumps, the tingles, the feelings. Fear is loud. It's
Hmm.
constant over, 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 whereas your intuition is like these subtle sensations or subtle feelings that we get and we know. And so, really, again, the felt sense is a crucial piece for women to get back in relationship with.
I love that. And I think there's probably even women that haven't been through sexual trauma, any kind of even day stresses, going through day stresses, getting the kids to school, doing like all these things are
Oh, yeah.
kind of like suppressing other things that are going on in our body. So I
Yep.
love the thought of listening and feeling,
Yeah.
because that's going to bring you back to yourself, isn't it?
Huge. Huge.
Amazing.
Touch, right? Felt sense is like feeling your body, right? Like, massaging or touching or like bringing warmth to different aspects of your body. An activity that I have with women that are in freeze is one somatic exercise. Like freeze is like where they're like contracted, they're immobile, they cannot move, or they're stuck, right? I'll tell them to rub their top of their thighs, press their feet deep in the ground, rub them, bring warmth to the body, right? So there's subtle ways that we can bring felt sense back on without it overreactive or
Stimulating. Yeah.
overstimulating, right? So it's really crucial too, helping women to understand, and more importantly, and I know you know this, is helping women to trust their own body.
Yeah.
Trust their body. Trust their body.
It's Yeah, and it's a difficult thing to do, especially through trauma,
Yeah.
through disconnection. I think
Yeah.
disconnection, if you've disconnected from your body for so many
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
you have to learn the habit again, don't you? You can't just go,
Yeah.
oh yeah, okay, I'm going to feel this. It's another learned behavior, but you just have to
Yeah.
unlearn the stuff that you've been through for the last 20 years in
Yeah.
order to make way for the new stuff.
Yeah.
So tell me then about speaking of women and feeling felt sense, you've got the embodied feminine authority. Tell me
Yes.
about that, please.
Yeah. So this year I'm launching a mentorship program called Devotion to the Feminine. It's a 7-month container where I'm taking women through 6 specific pillars of the feminine and the devotion to her. And really what that ultimately means is again kind of like what you were saying. Even if I'm a woman that's listening to this and I've never experienced sexual trauma, right? And women are like, "Well, I really, like I never had trauma." Like we talk about this all the time is like trauma is perceived very different, through our own internal perception, right? You can have mom and dad there and grow up in a same, lever to beaver cleaver home. But that doesn't necessarily mean that your emotional needs were met,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could
Yeah.
have two parents in the same household, but the emotional connection or the emotional attunement might have not have ever been there, right? And so what does that mean? That means that could potentially you could grow up where your relationship to your emotional body, which is feminine, uh,
Mm-hmm.
is disconnected. You might predominantly operate out of your masculine. You're very guarded, you're very strong, you're rigid, you're structured, right? Like you repel masculine men because you've just become so hyper responsible, right? Like these are just flavorings of it. And so for me is helping women to get back in right relationship with what does it mean to live in a feminine body, operate with the relationship to our natural biology, meaning, i.e., our hormones are changing every 7 days. And how do I get back in right relationship with my emotions,
Mm-hmm.
my play, my truth, right? Third chakra, my third pillar is about what is your internal truth as a woman? What do you stand for? Right? What are your beliefs? And so my work in the devotion to the feminine is really walking women back home to their bodies and building that foundation within.
Mm-hmm.
And it is crucial. It is really, really crucial in the world. We need, and women get to be back in the feminine. And a lot of women have no fucking clue how to do that, quite
Yeah.
frankly. No clue.
Yeah.
No clue.
I totally get that. I totally get that because I think for so many years we're going through all these adaptations of roles in the household, of jobs that we take, all these things that we're trying to do and accomplish. Because, like, hey, girl power, we got the vote and all that stuff, but then we taken away because we're trying to take on everything. We're trying to be both sides of the coin, and I do get what you're saying, and I think trying to juggle everything at the same time, something's got to give. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think coming back to ourselves, and I think I've spoken to a lot of women that have talked about like ancestral women's circles and just being together and feeling that strength and that energy together. Like you might not even say anything, but just being. So that is, I didn't realize how important it was to me until I've just had this conversation with you.
Yeah.
But especially the felt sense thing for me, sexual trauma is one thing, but embodying like the next phases of my life, like there's so
Y-
many different, we've been through so many things, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's 7 months, you've got 6 pillars. That
Yeah.
is, that is an amazing program.
Yeah.
That's not like bish bash bosh, you've done it, get out. That's really, really, I don't know what the word is. I was going to say intense, but I don't mean intense. I mean like,
Hmm.
if I can get into a word, that's what it would be.
Yeah. And it's interesting that, I wrote a blog this week about it that talked about like, we go through so many identities and there's so many things that we, our jobs, our companies, our kids, like we go through these different roles and these different stages, right? And for some women, we wear being strong as a fucking badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
We wear like, I'm strong, I could do it. I can tackle all these things. And also, we need to bring back, I need help. I get support. I
Mm-hmm.
get rest. I get to know my own threshold. And as a matter of fact, I'm required of it.
Yep.
Responsibility is knowing what is my internal threshold. That's my nervous system work is like, how can I shift to understanding my nervous system versus always reacting from survival strategies? And survival strategy is being like, I'm strong all the time. And for people who have been in trauma, there are a lot of women that have been in trauma and they wear like, I've done it and I've overcome it. And they wear that strength as a badge of honor. And I say, yes. And is it at the expense, though, of your softness?
Yeah.
Is it at
Have you
the
done the
expense?
work?
That's right. Is it at the expense of letting somebody hold you when you're not strong?
Yeah.
Letting somebody witness you when you're scared? Like, that is a level of the feminine that is so crucial. That's huge. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we get to say, like, today I'm not okay. Today I'm sad. Today I'm in grief. Today, like, I need help. Right. And so it is that tipping point of where, like, I can wear my strength as a badge of honor, but it also is a survival strategy to keep people away because people might have not have been safe or support wasn't safe. And I don't trust other people or I don't trust men. Right. Or I don't trust women. Right.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned it, like women
Yep.
getting together. There are some women that come to my events and they're like pissed at other women, pissed, and they don't like women. So what do? They armor up.
Yeah.
They armor up. And the truth is, when we are here with other women, we give other women permission to be witnessed in that. And I believe now more than ever, that is where we heal each other. That is a fact.
Yeah. I think that connection it goes beyond anything. And I think
Yeah.
if you are, I think the point that you just made was brilliant because when you are someone that has been through trauma and you do wear that, I've been there, I've done that, I'm healed, I've got through everything, and I've got the strong hat on. And yeah, come on, I can do this, I can do that. But actually, the point where you ask for help because you are not okay is the
That's right.
strongest you will ever be.
That's right. That's right. That
Yeah.
is absolutely right. And underneath that is vulnerability, right?
Hmm.
Underneath that is vulnerability. Underneath that might be years of grief and anger or fear, right? And it's like, okay, right? Because think about like if I were to go out into war, I'm going to put on fucking armor
Yeah,
to protect
absolutely.
myself. But once that armor comes off, underneath it, you're going to see blood, you're going to see sweat, you're going to see pain. And it's like, let us be in our humanness, right? Emotions are just information. They just
Yeah.
want to be honored, they want to be acknowledged, and they want to be felt and moved through. But we have to be cautious of sometimes that hyper masculine role that I'm strong all the time, I don't trust anyone. That too is a survival strategy that I believe that so many women still to this day wear, which is why I'm so passionate about helping women soften those edges, truly soften those edges and be in your body, because that's truly where magic happens and gifts happen, I believe.
Well, I can relate to what you're saying because for so many years I wore that hat. I had the armor on, and I would take the armor off for a second and rechink it straight back up. There was
Yeah,
no way I was going to let anybody think that what had happened to me was affecting me any longer in my life when it really was for like probably daily.
Yeah.
And then obviously like 2 years ago, which is when my mental health spiraled, when my abuser died,
Mm.
I had to ask for help.
Yeah.
I couldn't pretend any longer that I was fine.
Yeah.
So I think being a strong woman is being able to be vulnerable, to
Yeah.
speak up, say that you can't do it.
That's right.
That will then heal the parts that can't do it.
Huge. Huge. Huge.
Absolutely.
Huge. I'm curious. I would love to know for those of you watching, because I would love just to hear from your perspective. So, you mentioned that when your abuser had passed away, it brought up like a lot of inner stuff. It sounds like from you that were like wanting to be, faced or acknowledged or worked through. Like, was it grief? Was it anger? Like, I'm curious, like, what were the things that were coming up now that your abuser had passed away?
It was probably the most confusing time of my life because I had spent so many years being angry. I'd spent so many years going through flashbacks and all these different things that come with the abuse. But when he died, I also grieved the fact that I didn't have the
Yeah.
person that I needed in my life. I didn't have safety. I was grieving two different parts of my childhood, and I was angry and I was relieved. I think every single emotion that you could pop out, write a
Yeah.
list of, it was literally in this big cocktail of nothingness. And I went numb. I
Yeah.
went numb. I think I went numb. I didn't cry. I didn't face anything for a very long time.
Yeah.
And then I turned the tap on and I was like, I am not okay.
Mhm.
And I cried probably for 3 days.
Yeah.
But ironic that you say that actually, because it was only in April of this year. So I've still had this kind of anger at the pit of my stomach. And in
Yeah.
April this year, I did a workshop. I have a lot of sound Reiki with my friend Lily, who she does it with her voice, not with gongs. Like her voice is phenomenal. And
Mm.
she did a workshop. It was her, it was my other friend Charlotte. She did some yoga. And then they got a guy up called Ted Lawler, and he does breath work. And the three of them did this big kind of evening workshop. And
Mm.
I tell you what, Melissa, I was led on, I'd done the sound Reiki, I'd done a bit of yoga, and I led there doing the breath work. And my entire body started shaking. And the uncontrollable sob that came out, Lily had to come and console me because I just couldn't stop. But it shifted something in my tummy that day.
Yeah.
Wild. I've got to stop saying insane because since I've been on this mental health exercise course, I don't want to say that word anymore. So wild. It was wild.
Yeah. And like literally, metaphorically, in that experience, all of that stress that your body had been under when those sexual experiences were happening were finally able to move through, hence the shaking
Hmm.
uncontrollably. Like your body was going through a discharge of that stress response that had been in your body for who knows how long.
We won't say how long because then we'll figure out my age.
Fabulous queen. You look great. You look great. You look great. But kudos to you,
Hmm.
right? Kudos to you. There was an external experience, the loss of your abuser, that brought you to a reckoning of your
Hmm.
internal landscape.
And
Yeah.
it's still something that I'm sure that if anybody else has been through that experience, or either the sexual trauma or the breath work, we you still have to, it's going back to the felt sense again. You have to keep
Yeah.
coming back and you have to keep working through it. It's not a one and done.
No.
It's a continual magical healing journey. And I think I've said it before actually that I don't personally don't think you fully heal from what you go through. I think you learn to walk beside it. You walk with it like a shadow because it will
Yeah.
always be there, but some days are going to be harder than others. I also want to talk to you actually about, I've got your LinkedIn up here by my side, the medicine within. I'm
Hmm.
really intrigued to know what that is because I know that we've talked about the nervous system astounds me, how it keeps us safe for so many years.
Yep.
So the medicine within, is that to do with actual medicine, or is that to do with kind of where we're going with this?
Yeah, I love that she brought that up. So, how the medicine within was born. So, when we talk about coming back into relationship to the feminine, right? Like, how do we get back in touch with this body of ours when we've been disassociated for years, right? Like, how do we? So, the medicine within course was birthed with the deeper evolution of helping women to understand the 4 stages we go through every single month, biology wise, connected to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So, the moon is the feminine part of the feminine, right? The moon is the emotion. The sun is how we show ourselves to the world. So, Medicine Within is a 6-week course that I go through each week, talking about the 4 different archetypes that our body goes through: the crone, the maiden goddess, the mother, the wild woman. And these are really just aspects of, and the crown, excuse me, the crown is the last one, is what happens to our body, meaning from the foods that we eat to the somatic practices to the different rituals of connecting to your body every 7 days and really
Wow.
understanding that, right? So, like, let's go to the crone. Crone is an aspect of women who do still get like, let's say you still get a bleed, right? And you're bleeding, right? Well, we as a culture are like, put a tampon in it, go to work 10-hour days, right? Like, go do a hit workout. No, no,
No,
no. And
no,
most women are, right? Most women ignore their felt sense, disconnect from their body, and they're pushing and forcing in a masculine way of doing in the world. So most women are operating predominantly as if they have testosterone, right? Well,
yeah.
we have estrogen, we have progesterone, and we have testosterone. So this over the 6 weeks, I take the women through the 4 archetypes, nervous system wise, ritual wise, dietary wise, and really helping them to understand what's happening on with their natural biology and how can you take that medicine literally within you, right, and apply it to your life, apply it to your job to your best ability, apply it to, for entrepreneurs, I'm like, oh, this is fun, let me help you channel when your creative juices are flowing. Let me help you channel how you want to use that biology, your own medicine, to grow your business. And it is fascinating. So I built that course especially for women who have highly been disconnected from their natural biology, and they don't even know where to begin with understanding what's happening hormonally with their body. And we see this now more than ever, that women are, they're in perimenopausal, they're menopause, and they don't know nothing that's going on with their
Hmm.
bodies. Nothing.
Yeah. And I think for me, so I had a lady came on the podcast and she was talking about PMDD, the premenstrual dysfunctional disorder, and dysmoric. I can't even remember what the actual other D is, but anyway, that luteal phase that you're talking, she would be a completely different person. It was like an alien had come and taken over her. But
Yep.
I didn't realize the phases for our hormones was every 7 days. Like I've learned that. That's something extra I've learned today.
Yeah. And if you think about it, the moon changes every 7 days also, right?
Yeah.
We have a new moon, we have a first quarter, we have a full moon, and we have tomorrow is a new moon. In Cancer, it's a new moon. So if our bodies, if the feminine body is the closest to nature, which she is,
Mm-hmm.
part of being back in right relationship with her is to understand her.
Yeah,
Understand her.
absolutely.
Understand. So when you're talking about that woman, like her luteal phase, like it was like an alien was like come down inside of her. She's known as the wild woman. She's the part of the phase where I tell women, like, she usually comes on about day 18 to 22 of your cycle, and she's there until you bleed. But she's the archetype of, I need boundaries, I don't want to put all my energy out everywhere every day. I may be irritated. I might be agitated. And this is the part of the feminine that wants to tell you, learn your sacred boundaries.
Yeah. And it's like,
So
I
if
need space.
right. So if you own a business, I own a business, like, why would I want to go out 6 nights in a row when my body's telling me back off?
Hmm.
I'm going to get pissed. I'm going to get
Yeah.
irritable. I'm not caring for myself. So like when you take it in that really, it helps women to realize, again, coming back to self-sourcing. You are the medicine. It's already in you. Your natural biology of your feminine essence is already in you. It's not outside of you. It's
Hmm.
inside of you. Truly is.
I love that. I love that. That's so good. This is just like gold for them because, and
Yeah.
I think that we need connection. We need to connect with our body. Like people need that guidance.
Yeah.
They can't do it on their own. If you
Yeah.
feel like you have been trying to do it on your own, you may have been trying for 10 years, 15 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I'm obviously going to put everything about you in my show notes and any links. Is there anything that you would truly like to say to the audience about Melissa, about what you do, or the one key takeaway do you think that they should definitely walk away from this going, okay, I know that now?
I think the big key that I want for anyone to watch or any takeaway, especially for women, is that for so long, from society and conditional programming, suppression, oppression, you're emotional, you're crazy, something's wrong with you, right? Like there's been a lot of external noise for many, many years about women, right? And this is what's led to hypermasculinity in women. This is what has led to addiction, shoving everything down, right? This is so crucial for women to understand this, is that for women, I want women to know is that your emotions are a guiding post for the feminine. They're information. The feminine emotions tell us what to move towards, what to move away from. They tell us what behaviors are safe.
Hmm.
Emotions also tell us where I might be tender and where I might need a boundary. But when the feminine can get curious about their own inner landscape, this is where we start to heal. But the moment we pick up what someone says about us, you're emotional. Okay, I'm going to put it in my backpack. You're crazy. I'm going to put it in my backpack.
Hmm.
You just are overreactive. Put it in my backpack. If we take that on, this is also what cuts us off from our wisdom. So
Hmm.
my takeaway for women today is that wherever you are on your journey, if you suffer from anxiety, if you suffer from depression, if you suffer from any emotional diagnosis and or the inability to be with your emotions, I want to give you permission to ask for help. Because when you are in right relationship with your emotions, this is how we lead our lives. This is where we change the world around us. But it starts with our inner landscape. And I want women to give themselves permission to ask for help when it comes to that. So crucial.
That
That's my
is
takeaway.
amazing. That is amazing. Thank you so much. So
Yeah.
before I do wrap this up, I ask everyone the conductor's question. Now, the
Okay.
conductor's question is obviously trains, is if you could sit thinking about everything that you know with the coming back to the feminine, the somatic healing, the nervous system, if you could sit next to the Melissa that was going through that trauma, that was in that pain, knowing what you know now, what would you say to her for
Mm.
her guidance in the next track of her journey?
So if I had my younger self next to me, and I'm my higher self here and my younger self here, knowing what that she had experienced, if I were to tell her or give her any of advice, is that your feelings matter. You matter. Your feelings, your needs, your voice, they all matter. And now I'm here to help you to feel safe to express that. That's what I would tell
Love
her.
that.
That's what
Big
Yeah.
hug heart.
Mm.
Vanessa, like
Mm.
I could talk to you all day, but I'm very aware that we probably need to do like 3 or 4 series of
Yeah.
podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would love to just thank you for your expertise, for everything that you have brought today. And yeah, thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you for having me. I'm so stoked and I'm excited to see your evolution into what you're bringing out for women and helping women as well. And you are in the medicine literally right now. And I'm
I
right.
am indeed.
Yeah, I'm right next to you, championing you on and supporting
Oh,
you because your pain is your purpose now. And I know you understand that. And so from one woman to
100%.
another, I see you, I honor you, I respect you, and
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today on Riding the Trauma Train. I'm Lydia and I feel privileged to share this space with you. No matter where you are on this train right now, whether it's in survival mode, slowly finding your feet in recovery, or maybe it's somewhere in between, remember you are not alone in what you're feeling and you do not have to travel this journey by yourself. So if you'd like to continue traveling together, please follow Riding the Trauma Train wherever you're listening so you can join us at the next stop. Until next time, take care.